And you can see how the obsession with tomb building has really gotten out of hand in the last 5,000, more than 5,000 years, or more than 500 years, 3,100 BC to 2,700 BC. Now,
And when they built it, they would build effectively like a booby trap structure and everything to try to prevent people from doing this stuff, right? Or are we not there yet on the timeline?
Yeah, booby traps. Well, I'm wrong. There's a few booby traps in Egypt, in pharaohs' tombs. Yes, we don't really see booby traps in much else. Like,
so how would it be so hard to get in to a non-pharaoh's tomb? Like what types of things would they do in the building process to make this impenetrable?
In a pharaoh's tomb?
No, in a non-pharaoh's
okay.
tomb.
Well, that's actually what I'm talking about is this mastaba. So these mastabas were used by all kinds of people, just this shaft in the ground. It eventually evolves to like an impenetrable tomb. Impenetrable, nothing was, but it eventually evolves into the pharaoh's tomb. And you begin to see the pharaoh, as the pharaoh in particular becomes more powerful, he starts to separate himself from everyone. His tomb is becoming more grand. But these mastabas, they would go, okay, they built this huge stone structure so that we can't reach the hole that goes into the ground. Why don't we dig a parallel hole and just skip the whole building and go straight to the chamber? And that's what they did. They would just dig into the ground and then dig towards the center of it, and then they would hit the chamber and steal everything.
Like El Chapo.
Yeah, exactly like that. So, so then probably when they're building that lower mastaba, and rather than like I said, it's a 3x1 structure, they eventually make it like a 10x10 structure. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so basically what that is doing is, okay, we have these shafts and chambers under the ground. We're going to build this thing so far out that it would be ridiculous to tunnel underneath it and get to it. And they were right. Nobody did that. And then they built the six stacks on top of it. Well, I say they were right. Nobody did that. Nobody did it back then. 2,000 plus years later, eventually people did. But so they think that is the origin of pyramids. That's why pyramids began. And then eventually, as pharaohs become more powerful and the ability to quarry stone. Now, the stones that make up this pyramid are pretty modestly sized. They're like this big. I, with all my might, could carry one stone, right? And that's the whole pyramid. There may be some larger casing stones at the foundation, but there's nothing that is... I mean, you've seen the Great Pyramid. You know how big those stones are. They're the size of this table.
It looks fake.
It looks fake.
It literally is like, what?
And so the idea is that as stone masonry and the ability to quarry stone moves on through means by which still can't be explained. And I think that that's something that people in my space, like, I'm friends with, people who are alternative researchers, but I am an academic. I read the papers, I read textbooks, and I try to come at these things because I was kind of raised by Graham Hancock's Fingerprints of the Gods before I ever went to school. I have this permanent imprint in my mind, or I have this permanent impression of looking at things through a different lens and being not only open about, but excited about the things that we don't understand. And as an academic, I am very open about the fact that we do not understand the mechanisms or the techniques or the processes by which the pyramids were built. Now we have gone from, so Dahshur is third dynasty. We have these little chapters in history. So in Egyptian chronology. So now we finally come from 3,100 BC. Don't worry, guys. We're still getting to Rome conquering Egypt. But now we've finally gone from the unification of Egypt. We've just passed the first pyramid, right? And I'm explaining this because it's important for people who are interested in Egypt.
Yeah, this is amazing.
You should
I love this.
Okay.
Yeah. You good?
Yeah.
A little bit too much cocaine last night?
Yeah.
Fucking guy, first one to get a deviated septum wins. Winner over here.
Yeah, I definitely have that. So we've now crossed this paramount invention of the first pyramid. And you can see how the obsession with tomb building has really gotten out of hand in the last 5,000, more than 5,000 years, or more than 500 years, 3,100 BC to 2,700 BC. Now, and that was the third dynasty. Dahshur and Imhotep are in the end of the third dynasty. And the way dynasties work is, we go through Egyptian history, they didn't view themselves, Dahshur didn't say, oh, I am Pharaoh, Dahshur, king of the third dynasty. He didn't even know he was in the third dynasty. That's just the way we compartmentalize looking back at them. We see these little chapters, and then there's a big switch in the government. And, it's essentially like,
it's the same thing we look at sports. After teams win multiple Super Bowls, we decide to label them a dynasty.
Sure.
They didn't go into it thinking it.
Yeah. Probably what'll happen is Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs will retire. They'll have a terrible quarterback the next year, and then that's the beginning of a new era. And then you refer to that era. If Patrick Mahomes,
dark ages.
Sure. If Patrick Mahomes is era 3, then the next one begins at era 4. That's how we view.
That's actually a great way to explain it.
That's how we view ancient history. We look at these little changes, and then that's the start of something new. It's a new era. So we're now in the 4th era of Egypt, the fourth micro era. You have these macro eras too. So you have the unification of Egypt. Then you have for about 300 or 400 years, you have the what we call early dynastic. After that, it begins this old kingdom, which happens somewhere around the beginning of the 3rd dynasty to the beginning of the 4th dynasty. Depends on what you deem as being important. I would put the 3rd dynasty in there because it's the first pyramid. You have Imhotep and Dahshur, just iconic people in Egypt. That begins this thing called the Old Kingdom, it's the golden days, and the Egyptians always called it that in later periods. You have the golden days, and now we're in the golden days now of the Old Kingdom. This stretches from 2700 BC until 2100 BC, and so we're still at the beginning of it right now. Things are about to start kicking off. So we go out from Sakara. You go a little bit south, so the deserts of Sakara. A little bit south of that is the deserts of this place called Dahshur, and you have.
How do you spell that? D-A-S?
D-A-S-H-U-R or E-R.
Okay, Dahshur, Egypt. Yeah, let's pull up a map. Just so you were coming from Sakara to Dahshur.
Yeah, so it's you have these hot spots that are these dead cities, cities of the dead, these necropoli.
Leslie's right on it. Okay,
there we go. So it's just
is that the Red Sea over there? No.
Yeah, it's a portion of the Red Sea.
Oh, can we zoom out? Sorry, I was looking at that way too small. Let's zoom out some more. A little more so I can see the Mediterranean. Got it. Okay, now I see where we are.
Yeah. So
by the way, look at your flower right there.
I know. We're coming back. I'm excited.
But yeah.
Now you're never gonna.
I'm never gonna unsee that, dude. Yeah. It's like that. That was one of those moments where when you explained this whole thing to me that we're gonna get to. Obviously, sorry, blue ball people. And then you showed me the picture. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm excited to talk about that too.
But Dahshur, I got you.
So we've gone from Sakara. It's this large necropolis. And it wasn't just Dahshur that built his pyramid there. You can't see it on Google because they all focus on the step pyramid. There's other pyramids there. I went down inside of another pyramid at Sakara. There's, a dozen other pyramids there, and other pharaohs buried themselves there. And all the people who were close to the pharaoh, who were either, siblings or relatives, mothers, sisters, wives, they have multiple wives. They'll all be buried there too. And all the people.
You went down in there.
I did.
Do you have cell service down there?
No, not down in as soon as you enter into one of these ancient structures, the stone, the courses are so thick.
Yep.
And
See, that's a booby trap in and of itself. Yeah. They were thinking ahead.
Exactly.
They're like, fuck your iPhone.
Well, and they knew that it's even impenetrable for Starlink. I have Starlink when I go.
No, and, Elon can't get in there.
Elon can't get in.
He's gonna get in there.
Yeah, he's gonna.
He said he's gonna hear this podcast. He's gonna be like, we'll find a way.
Yeah. That would be so funny. I could see that being clipped on X, and then he responds to it.
We'll do it.
So, so Starlink can't even get in these things. And so, you have all of these people. It's this hot spot. It's this hot real estate where you want to be buried, right? And then you have new pharaohs, new dynasties, and people are like, yeah, I think I want to be the first pharaoh buried at a different necropolis. I want to do something new. So they leave Sakara and they go, just a stone's throw away down to Dahshur. And this is where the red pyramid and the bent pyramid are built. Now, this gets into, actually before that, they go down to this place called Maidum, but it seemingly doesn't work out. Now, this is where I'm going to openly state before we get started that what I'm going to say is the official chronology, and even I seriously cast doubt on this. So
You're
it's
throwing
just,
you're throwing some doubt on the mainstream, Luke Caverns.
I am. And so,
How dare you? You cannot do that in here. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.